This might sound strange at first glance, but most people don't lose money during the day. They lose it in the first few minutes after waking up, even before getting out of bed, before coffee, before the cell phone. Something silent has already decided whether the day will be ordinary or full of opportunities. And the most intriguing part? It has nothing to do with luck, above average intelligence, or the right contacts. It has to do with an invisible habit that almost no one notices, and that's precisely why it works so well. While some wake up rushing to get through the day, others wake up, preparing the day to chase after them. Here's a troubling paradox. The more you try to force results, the fewer they appear. But when you start the day by aligning your mind correctly, opportunities arise as if they were always there. Because they were. Most people think prosperity is something external, when in reality it begins as an internal adjustment, almost imperceptible. What if I told you there's a specific moment of the day when your mind is more receptive than ever? A moment when a simple decision completely changes how you see money, ideas, and possibilities. The curious thing is that this isn't modern theory, nor an internet fad. Successful men and women have been practicing this for decades, many without even knowing why. They simply know that if the beginning of the day is right, the rest tends to align. And the good news? You don't need to change your entire life. You just need to change. How do you start your day? Because when that detail changes, everything else starts to fall into place. The window of the first few minutes after waking up, before the cell phone. The day doesn't begin when your foot touches the ground. It begins when a thought is born. And look, in the first few minutes after waking up, your mind is still half open, between the subconscious and the conscious. It's like a safe unlocked for a few moments, and almost no one notices this. Most people grab their cell phones and let the world choose the first thought for them. But you learn that when the world chooses for you, opportunities don't disappear. You're just blind to them. Here's the deal. The brain works like a radar, but the radar only finds what it's programmed to look for. If you wake up thinking, this is going to go wrong, guess what? It notices problems, delays, bills, complicated people. And that's it. The day becomes a hunt for stress. Now, if you wake up and choose a guiding thought, like, today I'm going to see financial opportunities, something changes inside. It's not cheap magic. It's focus with direction. Like when someone decides to buy a car and, out of nowhere, sees that model everywhere. The opportunities were already there, but his eye wasn't trained to recognize them. And that's where a move that seems too simple to be true, but is powerful, comes in. You switch from autopilot to a 60-second ritual. Before touching your phone, you take a deep breath, place your hand on your chest, and say, as if giving a gentle order to your own mind, today, I'm going to notice what I wasn't seeing. Then you choose one practical thing to look for throughout the day. An idea for extra income, a contact to close a partnership, a service you can offer, a product to resell. You know that slightly ironic humor? You laugh inwardly. Wow, I was the person who woke up and already lost the game before the first move. And when you start doing this, you realize there's an even deeper detail happening. And that's exactly where the next step comes in. Dominant thinking creates the invisible filter of the day. You begin to notice something curious. It's not what happens to you that defines the day. It's the dominant thinking, that thought you carry with you early in the day. This thought becomes an invisible filter, almost like glasses you put on without realizing it. If the thought is one of scarcity, everything seems expensive, difficult, distant. If the thought is one of possibility, even a problem becomes a clue, not a roadblock. And the most intriguing thing? This filter works all day long even when you think you're not thinking about anything. Here's a simple analogy, one that sticks. It's like setting your GPS before leaving home. If you don't define your destination, any road will do, and almost always leads nowhere. When you wake up and choose a guiding thought, like, "Today I'm going to generate value," the brain starts working on its own. A casual conversation becomes an insight. A mistake becomes a lesson. A delay becomes time to think better. You don't force anything. You just start to see what I previously ignored. And there's a detail that few people mention. The brain hates ambiguity. When you receive a clear instruction early on, you enter solution mode, not complaint mode. That's why productive people seem lucky. They aren't. They're directed. They wake up with the right question in mind and spend the day trying to answer that question. But then a silent challenge arises, because not every thought has the same emotional weight, and that changes everything in the next step. Emotion, the fuel that makes thought take hold. He realizes something that changes the game. Thought without emotion is just mental noise. The mind hears it, but doesn't obey. It's like giving an order by whispering in the middle of a stadium. When you wake up and just think about prosperity, nothing happens. But when you feels, even if only for a few seconds, the whole body agrees. And that's when the thought ceases to be an idea and becomes a command. Think of it this way. Emotion is the urgency seal that the brain respects. If you wake up and remember an overdue bill, your heart races instantly, right? That's it. Emotion activated. Total focus on the problem. Now, when you learn to generate positive emotion on purpose, the effect is the same, but in your favor. You visualize good news, money coming in, a door opening, and you feel relief, gratitude, confidence. A practical example you start using. Right after waking up, you remember a small past victory. It can be simple. A difficult month that turned out well, a debt paid, a client closed. You relive that feeling for 30 seconds, as if it were happening again. The brain doesn't argue, doesn't analyze. It accepts. But at this point, an inevitable question arises. How can I repeat this every day without losing strength? And that's exactly what the next step reveals. Daily repetition, when ritual becomes identity. Over time, you understand a somewhat uncomfortable but liberating truth. It's not intensity that changes life. It's repetition. Doing something powerful once inspires, but doing it every day transforms. In the first few days, the morning ritual seems strange, almost forced, a bit like, does this really work? But you continue, not out of motivation, but out of decision. And little by little, without fanfare, it ceases to be effort and becomes identity. Here comes a subtle shift. You stop asking, "What will I achieve?" and start acting like, "Who am I becoming?" Every morning, the same simple gesture, the same breath, the same clear intention. It's like going to the gym for the mind. Nobody gets strong in 3 days, but those who go every day change their bodies without realizing it. You no longer wake up expecting luck. You wake up expecting consistency. And when your identity changes, the small decisions throughout the day change along with it. In practice, this begins to appear in very real attitudes. You answer emails with more clarity, charge your own worth, and notice opportunities previously ignored. Start reading 10 pages a day of something that expands your mind. Books like Think and Grow Rich, The Power of the Subconscious Mind, or even Proverbs. Not because you have to read them, but because now it aligns with who you're becoming. But there's one final detail that separates those who improve from those who truly prosper, and that leads to the next point. Aligned action. When the prepared mind finds the right movement. After a while, you realize something almost ironic. Opportunities don't appear for those who only think. They appear for those who moves differently. The mind is already aligned. The gaze is already trained. But now the body needs to follow. Not with gigantic, heroic, or extravagant actions. That's a trap of the ego. But with small, consistent, and strategic movements made at the right time. This is where many people fail. They want to reap before positioning themselves. You start acting like someone who expects good things, and that changes everything. Instead of postponing, you send that message, make that call, offer that solution. It's not blind impulse, it's conscious action, almost elegant. You understand that prosperity doesn't respond to haste, but to readiness. And when the mind is ready, even a simple action gains weight. A very real example. You start writing down ideas that come up during the day, even those that seem small. A possible extra income, a service that can be improved, a partnership that makes sense. Then you choose a single daily action. It's linked to money or value. Just one. It could be studying something practical for 20 minutes, adjusting a price, learning about a basic investment. And then you realize, when thought, emotion, and action align, the game silently changes. The most curious thing is that, at this point, you're no longer trying to change your life. You're living differently, and life starts to respond. The right people appear, invitations come, ideas mature. Nothing explodes all at once, but everything starts to fall into place. And this raises an inevitable question. What happens when someone maintains this pattern for long enough? Now let me challenge you with a simple yet powerful question. If the first few minutes of your day shape everything else, why do you continue to leave that moment to chance? You've just realized that prosperity doesn't begin in the bank, or at work, or with external opportunities. It begins with how you wake up. A prepared mind sees paths where others only see routine. And the difference between those who change their lives and those who are only motivated for a few days lies in one word: application. Knowing without doing is like having a map and never leaving your place. So the invitation now is direct and honest. Tomorrow, when you wake up, do things differently. Before your cell phone, before distractions, before worries, choose a thought, an emotion, and an action aligned with the life you want to live. Ask yourself, what would a prosperous person do first thing this morning? And act accordingly. Don't wait to feel like it. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Discipline always comes before transformation. And tell me, what are you willing to change tomorrow morning? Will you continue waking up in survival mode, or will you start waking up in construction mode? Write in the comments which habit you will apply starting tomorrow. Making it public increases commitment. And if this content opened your eyes, imagine what's coming in the next videos. So subscribe to the channel, activate notifications, and walk along here, because this journey of prosperity is just beginning.